first part of my presentation also includes a little bit of my personal story. Why I need to narrate this story is because, number one, I am a qualitative researcher and a teacher's trainer as well. So my way is to begin my speech or my talk in a storytelling method, and then we shall move on to explore the title of the talk today, that is technology integration for teaching and learning in 21st century. As I'm very happy this year because this is 2023 and I am completing my 25 years of teaching and learning. I'm using the slides in not in full screen so that I may be able to see the chat on a side as well. So that's one of the tricks that I use in my online teaching as well, that I do not do full screen so that I can see chat on this side as well. In Google Meets or in MS Teams, if we do full screens, we can see hand raising or others mentioning anything, but we cannot see the chat. So when I teach my online classes as well, I keep my window to the 2/3 of the screen and I keep the chat box on at one side. So you can take it as the first tip from my side as well. So as I was telling, this year I'm completing my 25 years of teaching. In 1998, I completed my first master's program. And the important part of this story is that in 1998, when I did my master's in applied psychology, I had to do 2 full research theses, and I did not know how to use computers at all. So that was the first realization moment for me during my first master's, that in the coming years we shall not be able to survive and we shall not be able to develop in our academic and professional careers without learning the computer skills. So that was 1998. The 2 research theses that I had to submit, I am blessed with a very supporting family, and specifically my brother, who used to take my handwritten drafts to a computer operator or a cafe in the market, and they will type it for me, and then I will go through them, edit them on the paper, and they will retype it, and they will obviously charging money for this. So once I was done with my master's and my brother was doing a job, he actually encouraged me, and he brought a computer at home, and he said that I should begin practicing on this computer. And then in those 2 years, I started my first job in teaching at Army Public School, Rawalpindi. And during my teaching, I was teaching in the morning and I was doing my computer practice at home in evening. And what I used to do is that whatever I had to teach, I used to make my lesson plans, and I used to make my presentations on computer. And that's how I started myself. I started integrating technology into my early years teaching practice. Then in year 2000, there was an advertisement in the newspaper, and it said, just a 2-liner advertisement, I still remember it. It was in The News, the English newspaper, and it just said that if you are a teacher and you want to bring innovation in education, then apply. And there was an email ID given at the bottom. No telephone number, no address, but an email ID at the bottom. And there was this private organization with the name of Helium Private Limited, and their email ID was given there. So now when I reflect upon that advertisement, I feel like somebody had done it very intelligently, that if a teacher is reading this newspaper and knows the word innovation and knows how to use emails, only those people will apply. So that was a very intelligent design of advertisement. And okay, Bilkis is saying she cannot hear very well. So anyone else, if you can confirm that I'm audible clearly, just say yes or type yes.
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. So I was telling my story that I applied for this job, and once I applied, I sent my, and because I was using computers at home, so I had drafted a CV for myself as well, and I was learning by doing. So I sent my CV and I drafted an email. That was my very first professional email ever in the year 2000. And I got a response. And they said that you will be interviewed telephonically. So to cut the long story short, I was interviewed 3 times. I was selected as a senior trainer for teachers. And they knew that I do not have any qualifications of computers, but I am using computers as a teacher. And I told them that I do my lesson planning on it. I do search sometimes if I want to learn something new about my teaching and learning. So then I got a professional training by Intel trainers, and I was certified as a senior trainer for training master trainers in various cities of Pakistan. I was here in Islamabad and Rawalpindi, so I trained teachers near Islamabad and Rawalpindi, also including these 2 cities. Then I started my own studies, my higher education beyond masters, and I started working at Allama Iqbal Open University. And during these 3-4 years, when I was doing my computer practice and I was doing my job, and then I started my Intel job, I also completed another master's called Educational Planning and Management. Now this master's was in distance education mode from Allama Iqbal Open University, but it was a traditional mode. We had to do handwritten assignments. Yet we had to do handwritten assignments. I was using search engines and I was using educational resources online to prepare my assignments. And I started working as a lecturer at Allama Iqbal Open University in 2004, and I started my practitioner's research diploma at University of London, which was a part-time study. So I used to do my assignments online, send them online, and I had to go to London once a semester only. So now these 2 things, on the one hand, the experience of distance education through Allama Iqbal Open University, and on the other hand, me myself getting a postgraduate diploma from University of London using online portals for my own learning. And at Allama Iqbal Open University in the year 2005 and 2006, we were trained by Commonwealth of Learning to develop multiple media content for our students. And the journey goes on. I kept adopting all these new technologies and things. And then I went to Michigan State University for my PhD, spent my 4 years there, and then I learned, and I intentionally opted for a course which was technology in higher education. So I learned more and more, and I got convinced that in 21st century, if we want our education to be effective, if we want our education to be updated, if we want our education to be meaningful and future oriented, we need to integrate technology into it, and integrate technology at every step, not just for 1 or 2 exercises and practices. And then at San Jose State, I came back after my PhD. I stayed in US for 4.5 years. I came back in 2013, and then in 2015, we at Alameda Guadalupe University had a project with San Jose State University, and then I was trained for e-campus management and learning management systems. And doing all these things, I realized, and after this slide I would stop and I would like to take some reflections from you, and then we shall go on with the session. So in all those learning stages and phases, I realized, and I'm teaching continuously at Alameda Guadalupe University since 2014. I am coordinating a PhD program in educational planning and management. I'm coordinating courses at MPhil, Masters and BS level. And I realized that the future generation, or the young people coming into education, are not very fond of text material. I do send them readings. I do talk to them about the readings. I want them to read, and I love it when people read and ask further questions. But I realized that this generation, and specifically the next generations, would not be appreciating text material only. They would love, and they will appreciate, acknowledge and relate more with visual content. So in 2019, I went to Canada, York University, Seneca College at York University, and I learned videography, non-fiction filmmaking, just for the purpose that with all the computer expertise, I don't want to use the word expertise, I want to use the skills. With the IT skills, I need to have the skills for videography or visual content development as well. So now I'm working on this. So I stop here. That's my journey so far. I would love to have some reflections and questions from you, and then we shall move on with the topic. Please. Any reflection, any questions so far? A teacher who started teaching in 1998, and within the period of 25 years, how I present myself as a case that I learned through technology, I learned with technology, I'm teaching through technology, with technology and for technology. G. I think the mics are enabled. So is there any moderator, or should I moderate myself? Yes, sir.
Can I ask?
Yes, sir.
Can I ask something, please?
Yes, sure.
So this is Dr. Najib. So what I have understood is that to be a teacher in a modern day, you need to have varied skills rather than the traditional orthodox teaching skills.
Yes.
And it also requires, it was very interesting to hear that you have, got some skills regarding the filmmaking or video making or something, which we all, at least I, on my behalf, I can say that I always lack these skills.
Yes.
So how important are these skills to be an effective teacher for modern times?
My whole talk today will go around this question although, but specifically answering your question, if you ask me as a teacher today, I would say none of my lessons, I'm not saying courses, I'm saying lessons, none of my lessons feel complete. I don't feel it complete without visual content. To me, if I send out a reading, I prepare a PowerPoint presentation, I speak with it. Mostly, I feel as if I am using single media content more and more and more. That is textual. So for me, I believe even if a teacher cannot develop visual content, I will show some of the websites and stuff. We should be able to use the open educational resources effectively. Every teacher should feel this, should feel satisfied only when a lesson or a lesson plan has multiple media content. That's how I take it today, because the learners in our classrooms, virtual classrooms or physical classrooms, the learners in our classrooms, their minds are now ready, and they appreciate multiple content in front of them. They are using all those gadgets, they are using all those devices which show them text, visuals, and they give them audio as well. They are habitual of seeing colorful screens, they are habitual of seeing moving objects, they are habitual of believing through multiple media. So yes, my answer is that every teacher needs to have more and more skills of, if not content development, that at least effective use of available multiple media content. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Ji. Anyone else? Somebody else has raised hand as well. Please speak up. Zareen and someone else. I think yes. Zareen.
Hand has been raised since she joined.
उसको कहो हाथ नीचे कर ले, थक जाएगी. Zareen, are you there?
Yeah. So I have,
Okay, Ji,
a
please.
quick question.
Yes.
Listening to the entire story that you shared about times when computer was not very common, and then your own personal experience of learning to use technology for your education and for teaching.
Okay. Okay.
What
So-
gets used to the exposure.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll answer your question in two parts. Many years I've been training teachers, and I've been working with public and private institutions, and this is the major difference when we work with public and private institutions. In the private institutions, people do have these facilities in their institutions as well. But in the public institutions, mostly the teachers, even if they are skilled, even if they want to use technology in their teaching learning, they do not have all these facilities in their schools or institutions or colleges sometimes. I travel a lot. I go for teachers training to any part of the country, wherever they call me. Next week I'm going to Multan, and in the rural areas between Multan and Bihari as well. So when I go there, what I see, let's talk about today, let's not talk about 10, 15 years ago. When I go there, what I see on ground is that teachers do have mobile phones, and teachers do have access to computers in one way or the other. But the students might not have access to computers. Yet I have been working for some time with not rural but areas, suburban areas around Chenab as well. Chinot and all those areas. So what I see is that the other sectors, for example, banks, for example, the traveling companies, for example, any other sector, has very effectively made people realize that you have to have our app downloaded, otherwise you cannot book a ticket, otherwise you cannot transfer money, otherwise you cannot do this. And people during COVID period specifically realized that, oh, how comfortable this is, that I can buy things online, I can do this online. So all these circumstances made people realize that we have to have technology integrated into our lives. But these public institutions and small institutions, they have yet not been able to convince themselves that they have to have technology for effective education. So second part of my answer is that for a very long time I had this slogan on my social media as well, that teachers can be the change agent. I was a teacher, my students were not using computers. I was using computers, and I pushed forward my school to give me some hours in the computer lab. I pushed forward that my students need some time on screen as well. Having said that, this motivation is intrinsic in the new technologies. Once you start using them, it's an intrinsic motivation that you want to apply them into your practices. So I always ask teachers in my trainings as well that first of all, start the change process with yourself. Convince yourself that I am going to do my lesson planning on a computer. Just this first step. So once you have done it, you will be using different URLs and stuff, and there will be an intrinsic motivation, a push from within the process that I want to show this URL in my classroom. I want to open this URL, and I cannot open it on a paper. So with my personal experience and with teachers' development, I have come to the conclusion, begin with your own practices and you will feel motivated to then push the institution and other individuals to do it as well.